As a salon or spa owner, cosmetology school gave you the skills to serve clients, but it definitely didn't teach you how to run a business. Somewhere along the way, you probably thought ownership would mean freedom, but instead you're working more hours than ever, barely paying yourself, and low-key worried everything's going to fall apart the second you step away. Welcome to the Beauty Biz Breakdown, where we give you the real strategies, systems, and structure that you need to fully step into the CEO seat in your beauty business. Hey friends, welcome back to the Beauty Biz Breakdown, the go-to podcast for salon and spa owners who are ready to build a more profitable, more predictable beauty business. I'm Brie, and as always, I've got my bestie and co-host Chandra here with me today. Hey girl.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am doing good today. Hopefully no coughing. We'll see. I'm going to try not to do that today.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yes. Thanks.
All right. Well, today we're just going to go there. And I mean, really going there, because this episode is about something that I think a lot of salon and spa owners really need to hear, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable for people out there. Look, guys, restructuring your salon business, it is freaking hard, like genuinely hard. It is not some weekend project that you can just get done in 48 hours. It's not something that you can half do and expect full results. It is a real process. It takes real time, it takes real effort, and it takes a real commitment to actually seeing it through, even when it gets messy. And trust me, it's going to get messy. It's going to get messy a whole lot. Something that Chandra and I see happen all of the time when we're talking to salon and spa owners is they know that something needs to change in their business. They can feel it. But instead of really diving in and really doing the work, they either keep putting it off, they try to figure it out alone, or they get partway through and they just quit. They just give up. And then they get really, really frustrated and they wonder why nothing ever changes. So today, we're going to talk honestly about what restructuring actually looks like, why so many owners out there stop before they finish, and why pushing through it is one of the best things that you will ever do, not only for your business, but honestly for yourself and for your life. So first, I want to get really clear on what we're actually talking about when we say restructuring, because I think this is where people already kind of get it wrong. Most owners hear that word and they think it means just fixing a couple of things, right? Maybe adjusting some pricing, changing a policy or two, maybe tightening up a schedule or having a team meeting and resetting expectations, something like that. But that's not restructuring. Restructuring is when you realize the way that your business is currently set up is not producing the results that you want or honestly that you need. And you are willing to change the foundation, hear me clearly, of how your beauty business runs. That can mean completely redoing compensation models, creating new expectations, completely changing your team or their schedules, reinventing how your decisions are made, how problems get handled, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate anymore, all those things. Restructuring, it literally touches every single piece of the business that you have. And I can say this, after coaching for many, many years, I think a lot of owners are trying to get different results while keeping the exact same structure. And that's why nothing has changed for you. You can't get a new outcome from the same setup. It is never going to happen. At some point, you're going to have to be willing to change how your business actually operates if you want to see things get better. Chandra, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant, but I get so frustrated because I know when people truly restructure their business, when they truly take the steps and change them, the difference that it makes, not only in their life, but in their business, right? What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding that owners have about what restructuring actually is?
I think they just think it's like one little easy quick fix. There's like one little magic thing, one easy button, like we say. And they just, when they start having to restructure it, they realize how much work it actually is, what's actually really wrong in the business. And it's way more than they thought, or it's way more than they expected, or it's just, I just think they have no clue. They start thinking, oh yeah, I'm in this. I got all this time. I'm going to do all these things you tell me to do, or I'm going to make all these changes. And then like 5 seconds later, they're like stressed out because they didn't have a clue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Something else that I think we see when it comes to this is why people set themselves up for disappointment before they even begin at times, I think. And I think it comes to the timing of it all. The whole idea that you can fix everything in your business in 60 or 90 days, which I'm going to say this, we do see a lot of coaches out there and systems out there that kind of promise that to you. I'm just going to say it plainly. That is not real. You cannot restructure a business completely that way. Now, you can clean some things up. I'll give you that. You can start putting better habits in place, but a full restructure, that takes way longer. And the reason that it takes longer is because you're not just changing these small things like Chandra said, you are changing patterns. That's the best way that I can put it. How your team's showing up, how you're responding to things, how decisions are getting made inside the business. And there is no world in which patterns change overnight. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Patterns change through repetition and consistency. So when someone expects speed, like the 90-day miracle plan, and it doesn't happen, they just start judging the process way too early. They look at something that hasn't had time to stabilize yet, and they just decide that it's not working. And that's where I see owners really start to pull back. And I hate it when this happens, Chandra, because it's usually right after that point when things actually start to shift and change just a little bit. Chandra, have you seen owners actually walk away from a restructure or coaching because they didn't see results fast enough?
Oh yeah. I feel like we see that quite a bit, and I think it's just like you said, it sucks because they start to put in the work, they start to see the change a little bit, and that's when things get really hard. And I feel like that's when they just are like, "Nope, I'm not doing this. This is not what I wanted, or this is too much work for me." But they're at that tipping point where they feel like they could actually, or we feel like they could actually make that difference if they would have just like put in a little bit more for a little bit longer.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is easy for us to speak on because both of us have been there. We have actually had to restructure our business many times over, right? There is just something about owning a business, especially in the salon industry where it evolves consistently and constantly, where you do have to restructure these things. You know, something that rarely gets talked about, I think, in this industry, and honestly, I think it's one of the biggest reasons that restructuring kind of takes longer than what people expect is because restructuring, it doesn't just expose problems in your business. It actually drags into the light every single thing that you have been avoiding as an owner. It really does. It brings all of that into the light. I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like, my team's messy, or I'm talking about the quieter truths, like that you've been able to ignore while you were in that survival mode. And so many of you live in that survival mode so often. It shows you where you've been inconsistent as an owner, as a leader, as a guide, as a coach, where you've created a policy but never enforced it, right? Where you let a toxic stylist stay way longer than you probably should have because having the conversation felt harder than dealing with maybe their behavior, where you kept giving second, third, and fourth chances, not because you're just a kind person, but because you were scared of conflict or scared of being short staffed. It really forces you to look at the decisions that you delay, the pricing you knew wasn't right, the systems that you have built and never followed through on, the moments where you stepped in and fixed things yourself instead of building your team up because it feels faster in the moment when you do that. I don't know. I just feel like it literally puts the mirror right in front of you when you're doing coaching or restructuring. And when that happens, it stops being about fixing everyone else. And it starts being about changing you and the way that you lead and the way you run your business and the way you coach and guide and direct people. You cannot build a high performing team, a profitable, low drama salon, if you're still the same leader who is avoiding hard conversations, people pleasing under pressure, or letting things slide just to keep the peace. The business will only grow to the level that you are willing to grow as the leader. And I think this is the part that kind of slows everything down in that process because it's not just about knowing what to do. It's about doing it differently, but you're having to do that in real time. It's not like you can close your business, fix all these things, rehire a team and retrain them. You're stuck in the middle of it like catching yourself doing all of these things. Chandra, would you agree with most of that?
100%. I think that's the biggest aha moment that people go through in this process is that it is kind of them. It is them learning how to be different, show up differently, how to handle themselves differently and do things differently in the business, which is the hardest thing. It's like any change you make, any habit you make, you could be changing your diet. Like how frustrating is it to change your diet? It's the same kind of thing, but there's just a lot more at stake when you have a team and you have a business and you have all of that risk that you're taking. So it's very stressful, but I think that's the biggest thing is it is you. You created it, you built it, you made it the way that it is, and if you want to change it, you have to change you too.
Yeah, I think you brought up something really good. I feel like you're not just changing the business, you are actually changing the habits that created the business that you have right now. And I think that level of honesty can be super, super uncomfortable for everybody out there. I know it's extremely humbling and it can sometimes be really, really frustrating. I have seen countless salon owners, including myself, walk into this thinking that I was just going to fix other people. And yeah, ended up facing leadership gaps of my own patterns that were screwing things up, my own decisions that were putting us in really, really bad situations. And I think when people get in this uncomfortable spot, it's kind of where they want to stop. And it's not always because they don't want to do the work. Maybe sometimes it's because they don't want to sit in that discomfort long enough for it to actually create change because it's a really weird place to be in. It's way easier to go back to what you know. It's easier to fall back into those old patterns. It's easier to tell yourself, it's just not that bad, right? But I'm telling you guys, the second you go back, everything that you were trying to fix is still going to be there. The only difference is you start ignoring it, you stop looking at it, and you just let it hide in the background. Chandra, when owners hit that mirror moment, what do you think truly happens in their mind that makes them either push through or just completely ignore the obvious and go back?
I mean, I think it also depends kind of on how they take sort of self-criticism or how they handle what's going on with themselves. The ones that, we've been through this process with a lot of people, and I feel like the ones that really, when they hit that moment and push through and get past it, are the ones that are really humble and willing to let themselves see that. And the ones that are, like, okay, I get it now. I see that it's me, even if it was a hard process to get to that point. And I feel like the ones that don't, they just kind of put their blinders on and they just get mad. They're like, "Nope, this isn't it. This isn't what's going to fix this. This isn't the thing. This isn't the problem." But even though it's very blatantly obvious what the problem is, because if you act like that in that process, then clearly you have some issues, right? And so I think that that's that mirror moment is kind of the difference in how they react to themselves and their situation.
I 100% agree with you. And that kind of made me think of something else. I think something that we see also is a lot of half-built structures in salons that we work with. And I'm going to tell you guys a half-built structure, it is going to create more frustration than no structure at all. It really will. When owners start a restructure and they don't finish it, you end up in this place where supposedly expectations, have changed, but nothing is fully clear. Some things are different, some things are the same, and now the team, they don't know what in the heck they are supposed to follow. And that's another time where owners I see start saying, this just isn't working. But what's really happening is they just stop in the freaking middle of the process. Structure only works when it is consistent. I promise you that. It's like that in anything in your life. Absolutely anything. If you only apply the rules sometimes, it is going to create more confusion than it will clarity. And that confusion is always going to feel harder, I think, than just doing it all the way through. And that's where I get really, really frustrated as a coach, Chandra. What does that half built structure actually look like from the outside when you are working with a salon or spa owner?
I mean, I think it looks like chaos because it's like the owner's frustrated, nobody's listening and doing what the structure is, but they didn't train anybody on how to do it, nor are they holding anybody accountable for it. So then they're mad, and their team is annoyed, and their team is frustrated. And I feel like when we see that, it's like total chaos. And people, when they first, sometimes when we first start talking to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I have all the things in place. I have all these things." And it's like, "Okay, cool. Let's see what you got." They have stuff, but we're like, "Okay, well, how do you hold people accountable for this?" "Oh, I don't." Well, no wonder you're mad that nobody's following the structure, right? And so I think that's the biggest chaotic, situation when we see those half-built structures and people are just everybody's mad, everybody's frustrated, the culture's broken, and it's just frustrating for not only owners but everyone in there.
Definitely, definitely. And the excuses are unreal, right? Here's the thing, guys. There is no freaking easy button that you can push. There is not one. It is never going to be there. It's never going to happen. It doesn't work in life. It doesn't work in business. It's not going to happen. And I think the excuses that we tell ourselves or that we give when we're in coaching or trying to rebuild our business or do all of those things, they're just wild. Chandra, talk about some of the excuses that we hear people say or give, because I'm telling you, there are times where we are on coaching calls and it's like the same conversation in a circle for 45 minutes because people won't just make one change or won't admit that they need to actually change who they are to be able to do this. So talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I think we hear every excuse you can possibly think of, to be honest. But I think the biggest thing is time. Like, one of the biggest excuses is, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for all of these things. I'm working behind the chair. I have a family. I have it. And we get it. Like, time is valuable, and it is, you can't get it back. And it's very, we don't have time, but I think it's the, if you want this process to work, you got to find time. Like, you're going to have to figure that out. And I think that's one of the biggest excuses that we hear. And I think the other one a lot of times is the team. It's like they're like, "Oh, my team won't do this. My team won't listen. My team won't get behind this." And it's like, well, if you think that already, then no, they're not going to get behind it, because you already aren't even going to get behind it yourself, because you're using your team as an excuse as to why that's not going to work. I think those are two of the biggest ones that we get. But yeah, I feel like there's always some excuse.
Yeah, and I think the team one, that's the one I was gonna say. I think the team one is really big. I think a lot of times the owner is just scared, and so they are projecting that onto their team. Because I know for a fact when owners truly follow and restructure and rebuild their business in a way that it's going to be better for everyone, the team is usually a lot happier. They usually make more money, they usually work less, and they usually know exactly what they're going to be there to do and not do, and it's just life is easier that way. It's easier for everybody. So I think that is one of the things that I see. Okay, now let's talk about what actually happens like on the other side, because this is the part that makes every single hard day pretty much worth it. When someone fully commits to this restructuring process and they actually see it through, the business doesn't suddenly just become perfect. That is something that all of you need to hear. But it finally does start to stabilize a little bit. There's this steadiness that kind of settles in. The constant chaos, it kind of quiets down. You're no longer putting out fires every single day or making these panic decisions at like 7 p.m. on a Sunday because something blew up again. Instead of reacting to whatever drama or crisis walks through the door, you are actually leading your team and your business. And it's such a good feeling. You finally have things like clear compensation structures in place, no more guessing, right, about what somebody could make or what they're going to make. This is important when you're hiring. It's important for the team that you have now. It's important for everyone. There's no more of these secret side deals or side conversations going on. Stylists aren't arguing about their commission or about their days off or about any of that stuff. You have structure in place. You've built real career growth plans, right? Everybody knows what they need to do to get where they want to go. It's just a really, really amazing thing. You've got systems in place that used to be completely non existent, or let's just say completely ignored by you or the team. Now you've got everything that you need when it comes to inventory, when it comes to no show, cancellation policies. You just have consistent standards when it comes to clients, your team, yourself, your business in every single way. You're not flying blind anymore. You have visibility. You know your real numbers, not just what's in your bank account. Your pricing is reflecting the value that you're delivering. expenses are controlled, and because the business has structure in it, revenue becomes more predictable. But I think the biggest shift of all is that crushing mental load that you used to carry around all the time, it finally starts to lift away. You're not the glue that is having to hold everything together anymore. You don't have to make every decision on your own. You're not chasing every problem. You're not living in reaction mode. The business begins to run with you instead of on top of you or over you. Chandra, what would you add to that?
Yeah. No, I think 100%. I think that's always the what do they call it? Like short-term pain for long-term gain, right? It's like you have to get through that process, but it is worth it on the other side. And I think when we see owners that realize that and they come to that realization, it's like total weight has been lifted off of them and they are happier. They're enjoying their own life again. Things are so much easier, so much better. And they, if even if when they fought it in the beginning, if they did, it's like, all of a sudden it clicks. And I think that's the most important thing with that process and going through that and seeing that on the other side. It's like one day it will just click. Just trust me, just go through it, quit complaining, quit doing the things that you're not supposed to be doing, and just follow the process. And then it works. So
I think that's one thing that our members appreciate about us, though, is we don't just tell people, you know what, your salon is going to become easy because no business is just easy, right? But it does become predictable, professional, becomes predictable, professional, and scalable. That's the best way to put it. And that predictability, in my opinion, is what finally allows growth, which is a beautiful thing. You start being able to do everything differently. And I think that's the power of a true restructure in your business. Chandra, what's usually the first big change that you see when an owner actually sticks with this process and follows through? Like the number one first change that you see?
I mean, I think their leadership changes for sure. And I think that they become a true owner. And that's what we talk about all the time, how salon owners don't act like they actually have a business. And I think when they go through this process and they understand that, that's a huge shift in them. It's like all of a sudden I'm a business owner and I'm in charge and I get it now. And I think that that's like the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I leadership to me is one of the number one things too. I have that proud mom moment when I see it. Because I feel like when a salon owner is in that leadership mode, when they're doing the things they're supposed to do, everything is easier. Like everything. We even see it affect their personal life in a better way, don't we?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I just think that's really, really cool. Okay, guys, so if you're a salon or spa owner and you are tired of the way that your business is running, if you are ready to gain freedom, ready to create more profitability, ready to, I don't know, build your team, ready to have systems and boundaries, ready to actually step away as the business owner and pay yourself for running a real business, then you have some really deep thinking to do. You need to decide exactly where you're at and you need to ask yourself, am I actually ready to change how my business runs? Because that's what it's going to take to really get to all of those things that I just said. Or are you just hoping that things are magically going to start working better without you having to change very much? Those are two very, very different places to operate from. One is ownership, the other is just wishful thinking. And if your honest answer is, I don't know if I'm ready, then you need to take it a step further and ask yourself this: what has staying the same been costing you? Chandra and I ask ourselves that all the time. Like we really, really do. That's one of the most important questions, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, in your day to day life. How long have you been carrying the same frustrations? How many times have you said something has got to change and then nothing actually changed? Staying where you are isn't neutral. It's just familiar. And if your answer is yes, I'm ready, even though I know this is going to be uncomfortable, then the next thing that you need to understand is that you cannot treat this like something that you just dabble in. You pick up, put down, do a little here, do a little there. You cannot start and stop every single time that it gets hard. You cannot half implement and expect full results. It's not going to work. And you cannot expect a completely different business, a completely different team, and for you to be a completely different owner in 48 hours or even 90 days. That is the honest truth. It takes time, and it only works if you stay in it long enough to actually see it through. Chandra, when an owner actually makes the decision to fully commit and understands that there is no freaking magic wand out there, what do we usually see change after that 90-day mark?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that change. I think their confidence as an owner is number one. They like I was saying, they like step into that role. And then I think that they're happier. And I think that they end up with a better team. Sometimes people lose people going through this process, but it's like always, again, stick with the process because you will end up with a better team, even if you lose people. Like you can't let people hold you hostage. And I think when they hit that point where they don't let people hold them hostage anymore after going through this process, it's very freeing. You don't have to stress about it. It's crazy to me, but I feel like those are some of the biggest things that we see, the ones that stick to it and they really get on the other side and their business becomes profitable because they actually followed the budgeting trackers and the things that we tell them to do. Again, it's just a process, like just follow the process and then things change. It's like anything, right? And so, but I think, more profitable, more confident, and they just don't fear their business and the people in it anymore. And that's the biggest things I see. And within 90 days, all of those things can happen. It might take longer for things to fully be where they need to be, but if you put in the work, you can make some big changes in those 90 days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about it, in my opinion, is these aren't band aid fixes. Not what we coach anyway. It is actual structural fixes that is going to, stick with you for years and years to come. And you're going to know how to do those things. Chandra, how many times did you try to put band aid fixes on your salon before you finally followed the process?
Tons of times, like, because you always think there's an easy button. Like, I don't care who you are or what you do, like, there's got to be a solution as to why this isn't working. There's got to be a reason why this isn't working. And you just think it's this one thing that's going to change everything, right? And so you do that one thing and then it doesn't work because that one thing isn't the only thing that's going to make the difference. And so I think, I probably put thousands of band aid fixes in my business in the beginning before I actually went through a process like that.
I'm not going to lie. I used a ton of band aids as well. And I spent a ton of money trying to get the quick fixes, right? Trying to do the promises of do this in 30 days or do this in 60 days or 48 hours and your life's going to change. I totally fell for a lot of it. And I think that's why this conversation is so important for us to have. All right, guys, before we wrap up, let's get into our listener question. All right, Chandra, this one says, I've noticed that my mood as the owner affects my entire team, and I really hate feeling that pressure. How do I lead consistently, even when I'm stressed or having a bad day?
I think it's the same thing you gotta tell your team, like, you gotta leave it at the door, right? Like, leave it at the door and walk in there the way that you're supposed to walk in each and every time consistently, because you're the owner. Like, it just sucks. It is the way that it is, but to me, like, it doesn't matter what I'm dealing with or what I'm stressed about, the second I walk in that door, all of it has to go away, and that was the same even working behind the chair. It's like the second I got behind the chair and had to deal with my clients, all of those things had to go away. And so you just really have to learn how to, I guess, kind of compartmentalize. I mean, you can't walk in like that. It's just like when you have a team member who's in a bad mood, they come in and they affect you and they affect your entire team. And so when it comes from the top, I mean, it just is not good. And so I think Brie, you probably have a way better answer, but I'm like, just leave it at the door.
No, I think that's great. I mean, that's what I try to do. I do think there's times where we can't just leave it at the door, right? There are sometimes things that we're going through where we leave as much as we can at the door. And I think in the situations where you can't leave it all at the door, it's really important to communicate that to your team. Look, guys, I'm a little off today. I've got a lot on my plate, but we are still going to have a great day. I think that's, something that sometimes needs to be said. We don't always have to pretend that everything's perfect, guys. We are human, but you're also not allowed to let your mood take over how your business runs. And I think that's the balance that you just have to find. You don't need to be this robot version of yourself where nothing ever affects you because we're human. But you do need to be able to regulate how much of that actually shows up, like Chandra said, in the way that you lead, right? I think sometimes we we think that our team needs perfection from us, and they don't. What they need is honesty and consistency sometimes. And I'm not saying go in and turn your salon into a soap opera and tell them everything that's going on in your life. It's as simple as saying, hey, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm a little off today. We're going to have a great day. Sometimes I use it to have my team hold me accountable. If you see me slipping, if you see me getting down, if you see me bringing things in the door, let me know. Give me a signal, give me a sign. I'll go take a break. I'll take a 5-minute breather, whatever I need to do, and get back where I am. I think that's just really, really important. But you got to leave it at the door. Chandra's right. Look, guys, at the end of the day, this really just comes down to this. You already know if something in your business isn't working. You don't need more confirmation. You don't need more time to think about it. You know. The real question is whether you're actually going to do something about it, or if you're just going to stay where you are, or if you're going to try to do something about it, but not stay in it long enough to see it through. A lot of you have started things like restructuring before. You've started coaching programs. You've started, purchasing systems and things of that nature. You've made some changes. You've had a few conversations. You've tried to clean some things up, and then you back off when it got uncomfortable, or you just completely gave up because you didn't see things change in the first 48 hours or the first 30 days. That's the part that has to change if you want it to be different. Not your desire for a better business. You already have that. Every one of you have that. It's all about the follow through. So if you're listening to this and you know that you've been in that cycle, starting, stopping, getting frustrated, and not actually finishing what you've started, and you're done doing it in that way, hit us up at the Beauty Biz Agency. This isn't quick fixes or surface level stuff that we have, guys. We help you actually go through the process of restructuring your business the right way so it will stick a year from now, 10 years from now. So if you're ready for that, head to thebeautybizagency.com, look through our resources, check out some of our coaching options, or you can book a free strategy call with our team and we'll help you figure out what this needs to look like for your beauty business. If you enjoyed this episode, send it to another salon owner that you know is in the same place. And if you've got a second, please leave us a 5-star review so other owners can find us too. Make sure that you follow us so you don't miss out on the next episode or any of the amazing stuff we have happening at the Beauty Biz Agency. Chandra, how do they do that?
Yeah, make sure you're following us on all social media platforms at the Beauty Biz Agency on Facebook and Instagram, and Beauty Biz Mentors on TikTok. And reach out to us. Let us know if there's any questions you'd like us to answer on here, or, if you want more information, we're happy to help.
Absolutely. All right. That's a wrap. Until next time, stop looking for the quick fix because there isn't one. Stop starting and stopping the things you know need to change in your business and build your business the right way so that you can have a profitable venture and a life of freedom. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. And as always, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger. If this episode lit a fire under you, don't just walk away and let it die out. Deep down, you already know where you want your business and your life to go. And the truth is, the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is a real plan to get you there. That's exactly what we help you build. So if you're ready to stop trying to figure it out on your own, head to thebeautybizagency.com and book your free strategy call. That call can give you the clarity that you've been needing and a real plan to move your business forward. Because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and the salon business you've been dreaming about is whether or not you're willing to take the action and the steps in order to build it.